I'm Eric Wayne, and this is a new series I'm working on. There are 25 images so far. It's called Imagine That, just to highlight that the images are done exclusively from my imagination using my traditional drawing and painting skills combined with my digital imaging techniques. To see them, you can go to my webpage. It's here, Art and Criticism by Eric Wayne. It's artofericwayne.com, and you can go to Art, New Series, Imagine That, and you will see a page with all of them. There are individual posts for each piece, so you can find out a little more about it. If you visit one, such as number 14, the Sphinx, this is one of my favorites. You can see close-ups and some more information. Different ones I emphasize different things. Some have sketches, some I talk about my procedure or the philosophical underpinnings of the piece in question. Now I'd like to go through all 25, about 2 seconds each, just to give you an overview. This is number 1, Down by the River. Number 2, One-Eyed Monster in Hot Pursuit. 3, In Mortal Space Combat. 4, Watchers of the Sky. 5, Martian and Homunculus. 6, The Wrath of Fish. 7, Mechanical Man. 8, In a Globe of Frogs. 9, Truth is Indifferent to the Seeker of Truth. Number 10, Look What the Tide Washed In. Number 11, Man is a Monster. Number 12, Saucer Full of Secrets. 13, Spoke an Old Yellow Dog. 14, The Sphinx. Number 15, Hallucinating Dolphins. 16, Artist and Model. 17, The Kiss. 18, Untitled. 19, The Pool. Number 20, The Sculptor. 21, Untitled. 22, In the Cave. Number 23, Death Walks Beside You. Number 24, Missiles of Mercy. And number 25, Encephalopedia. This is the first one in the series, and when I did this, I just had the idea that I wanted to attempt to finish a whole drawing in one day, because usually they take me up to a month or so. Here you see a figure lying on its side, looking into a stream. The stream looks like it has a couple antennas, and there's the one big eye. This is going to crop up again. You can look in a little closer. If you go up really close, it's done very loosely. I'm trying to figure out how to work more economically in this series, because I would like to be able to do a faster image, faster turnaround, and get better at it. So we're going to see what sort of things I can come up with and what styles. Here's our next one. This was keeping in tune pretty much with the first one. Here we have this creature, it looks like a giant saw here, running away screaming from this one-eyed monster. And there are these kind of expressive lines at the top, which is unusual for me. And since I'm trying to work quick, I also wanted things like line to be evident, which often it isn't in my work because it's so resolved. But these, I want this kind of rough energy to them. This has a bit of a Edvard Munch feel to it. I also like the way the water came out. I'm signing them, I'm putting my initials. Usually I'm against that and have been my whole life, but people have such an attitude about digital art. I find that the more traditional I can make it look, the easier it is for them to get over that hurdle. Let's look at this a little closer. I particularly like the edge where it looks like it almost came through paint. And the yellows and reds and all that. Here's number 3. This one is a space theme, obviously. I've We've got a purple ant alien. Notice that its head is this U shape. Instead of being a solid oval, tried to come up with a bit of a new alien. He's got his two-pronged hand there, two fingers. The astronaut is gripping it, and they're in some sort of locked-in battle. And it's very expressive. The ship in the background, I would have liked to have worked on the ship a bit more, but I really didn't have time. This one I also knocked out in one day. The first three I did in one day before I extended how long I would work on them. Number 4 is a bit unlike anything I've done before or since. With this one, I know I started off with a line drawing and then I colored it in, which is not a way I really like to work. You have these two figures, watchers of the sky. Something is happening in the sky behind them. They're not looking at it. There's some strange intestine-like things on this one's face, which I guess is female. Reads as female because it's pink. I like that she's looking through a helmet. I like these eyes that are cartoonish, which I wouldn't normally do, but they seem to work quite well here. And this guy, his spots seem to work. This comes from looking at tokay geckos. I live in Southeast Asia. Let's zoom in a little. All of these pieces are, well, almost all of them are 20 by 30 inches at 300 dots per inch, which means they'll print out about twice that size. So they're all good for printing. This is one of my favorites, the Martian and Homunculus, 1950s War of the Worlds alien. I've changed him a bit. He didn't have a big circle in his chest. I see that as he's kind of stealing people's consciousnesses, or she is, and storing them in the chest behind some sort of transparent window or something. I quite like this thing I'm calling a homunculus in its hands, and I like the way the hands came out, kind of like a classic expressionism. The three-colored eye comes directly from the sci-fi movies. Yeah, there you can see it up close. It's very rough up close. A little bit impressionistic. Here's number 6. This, actually I like it at the moment, but often this is my least favorite one, simply because that main figure just looks a little Disney to me, and I'm trying to find images I haven't seen before. Not that I've seen this, but I just don't want to be reminded of Disney. It does have some good things, and it was good practice. I like the water in the background. Maybe this one's could use a little more color. The fish is kind of nice. Bit of a cichlid look to it. It has a nuptial hump on its head. Zoom in here a bit. At the time I did this one, I was not happy with the prior one, and so I was trying something quite different. This one's more abstract. I did the line drawing first, and then I added the color, and it actually took me full 3 days to be satisfied with this. A lot of people who don't really like my art like this one, I think, because it's kind of pretty, but if you look at it, there's some interesting things with the head in there. Here's kind of an ear over here. There's the 2 eyes, 1, 2. You can see it kind of a head in profile as well. There's this mouth, here's a mouth, and this strange tubular thing with a tongue coming out. And then there's this sort of semi-transparent proboscis sticking out of either the side or it could be its nose, depends on how you look at it. I like this softer colors up here, softer textures, and up close, this is what it looks like. A lot of different overlapping layers. This is in a globe of frogs, and after doing the last one with the lines, the hard black lines and the colors, I went in the complete opposite direction and did a softer style with just black and white. This one, a lot of it just seemed to draw itself. I was trying not to think and just flow with it. I just look at it and see what images appear. My favorite things are kind of this wing-like, it's almost like a dress or a wing. This leg, like a crocodile leg or something, touching this leg. If you look at it carefully, this is like a foot, but there's almost like 2 bodies down here, 2 sets of legs, right? There's the knees, maybe a man and a woman. There's his head here in profile. It's kind of a bird head here, some fingers here. And if you look, there's a head up here. You can see his eye, nose, his little mouth. So this one takes a little bit to get into, and then I think it's rather interesting. This one is one of my favorites. It's just so weird. I don't even know how I did it anymore. It came about, this yellow figure on the left with his big teeth and a little alien sort of mouth coming out, but the lips are really round and full. It's strange bottom teeth. That yellow and black kind of reminds me of a tractor or something, a caution sign. He's really unusual. He's got these strange mechanical appendages. There's this break in here. He's coming around the corner, and yeah, this armature coming out of his head. I really don't know what he is or where he came from. This mask has two sets of eyes. There's a snake, snake coming out of his mouth, worms at the top in his head, and whenever you see a skull with worms or snakes, it's pretty much a death sort of thing. I like the shadow here, and then it becomes three-dimensional. The worms are pretty creepy. It's a really weird one. Here's the next one. Look what the tide brought in. Only after I did this, let's just zoom in a bit. It's got a nice eye in here. Strange little, like almost driftwood hands. I just started drawing and this stuff appeared. And only after what I was done did I look at this big creature, which is almost looks like a manatee or something, with a humanoidish head. Looks a bit like Trump. It's got the circles around the eye from wearing goggles. I didn't intend for it to look like Trump, but it just reminds me a bit of him. So this creature's washed up on the shore, and this other creature, which seems like some sort of police or lifeguard or something, has come along and discovered it. There's a couple crab claws, like a crab has been dismembered. It's got an interesting feel to it. It's at night. Did this all kind of a rough texture that I like. Really worked hard on the crab claws to get them realistic, and I never looked at a reference. I didn't go look up crab claws. I just relied on my memory. I figure I can look stuff up between pieces. This one is almost in the style of the previous two, but it went somewhere else, and I don't even know how I did the previous two anymore. This one's a bit different. It's almost like a little more punk or something. Both these characters have looks like shit for brains. You can see this nice pile over here and this pile, and he's got this suction cup coming up, and he seems to be looking at this spoon. I just see the spoon as, that spoonful, some sort of drug or something. I mean, this guy's high as a kite. His eyes are super big. I like that his hair is part of this carapace or something that's broken away, and under it's more like a praying mantis alien head. Somehow this one looks a little like me. I think it's the hair, but I don't even have hair like that. But maybe a bit I used to. Let's look at this eye. I kind of like this eye. I'm trying to just suggest things without really articulating them. So this eye has this nice reflections and things about it, but it's really just roughed in. I thought I would make all of these as drawings. They're all digital. The difference between a digital drawing and a digital painting, that might be very subjective, but this obviously looks more like a painting, and it's using an impasto style I developed over a long time, and I have different ways of doing it in different programs. I'll just point out some things I like about this. Zoom in a bit. Yeah, it's not as tight of a painting as I normally do. I left it pretty loose. I like that you have this boy, or it could be a girl, either one, with like a diving mask on, coming into water, and you can see there are bubbles under its palms. Like its palms The hands are just hitting the surface of the water and there's bubbles there. And so we're looking from underwater and looking up. And there's some big bubble here or saucer or something. Hence this is called Saucer Full of Secrets after the Pink Floyd song. There's a weird little face here. You got this strange guy in his clothes. And this strange guy. This one's called Spoke an Old Yellow Dog because of the yellow dog on the left. This one is not one of my favorites really, but some other people seem to really like it. Perhaps it's the dog. People love dogs. This one's fairly loose. It's almost abstract. The figures here, some people didn't see this. I see this as a person sitting sideways. There's an eye, nose, some sort of mouth. Not really articulated. And then the dog, and then this obvious figure, which doesn't have to be a Christ image, but people see it that way, so there it is, and they seem to like it anyways. Or maybe because of that. This again uses my impasto technique. This is the Sphinx. This is one of my favorites, and hence not other people's favorite. Among the things I really like about this are this head. I like that it's very angular on the right, and then it kind of intersects. You've got all these different colors, reds and yellows, and this nice green here, and this peachy color. The hand is quite cool. It's almost the underside of the hand. Nice greens. It's a sphinx, so it's got a female anatomy, a little exaggerated to say the least. There's its hands. One's green, one's red. They're underwater. So you have this nice underwater landscape going on, and whatever's going on the right seems like something, a bird here, and this sculpture in the background with like folded arms. So I can look at this one for a while. I like that it's got that kind of Soutine expressionism to it, and a little bit of maybe Picasso or something with the angularity on that face, and all the bright yellow and the stylized hair / mane appeals to me. Here we have the hallucinating dolphins. It's a little play on words. The dolphins could be hallucinating, or we could be hallucinating and seeing dolphins. Only one of them is a dolphin. The other one looks like a demon. One of the things about working from my imagination with no preconceptions, none of these, I never go at it with a preconception, kind of takes the fun out of it, is I come up with things I would never deliberately come up with. That can go either way. I would never think of doing this. This one seems to be on this weird plasticky vinyl type fabric or something. Just appears and I run with it. It's got a reflection on its forehead like chrome of whatever is the landscape that's outside of the view. This big tear-shaped eye. This guy, I imagine he might glow in the dark, some of those stripes on him. I was on a roll with this painterly style. This is artist and model. You can see the model, she's very crustacean looking. She's got a bulb on her head, has a breast in profile. You can see his painting of her, and then her, and notice that his painting is a trapezoid. This is kind of like a Francis Bacon type thing. It almost doesn't register. You might realize it's a canvas, unless you think it's a mirror or something. But it's a trapezoid, and it doesn't really make sense like how it works. So I like that quite a lot. The guy, I like the green over here, like his brain, this green in the front, and his brain over here too, like this floating thing. Here he seems like he's bisected, and you can compare his painting of the model versus the model. She's got this strange, I even invented a little bit of like a headdress or clothing for her. It's very peculiar. Let's zoom in a bit. Yeah, up close, it looks more like this. Even though I was on a roll with those impasto paintings, I went in a completely different direction. And this one's nothing like any of the ones that I did before this. just using black and white. This is called The Kiss. This one has a real kind of mood to it. The strange guy in the upper right up here. And the different textures. This is very smooth. You got this other guy, a little bit like a Giacometti almost, but looks like a primitive mask. And then you have this head, and her with exaggerated, abstracted mouth and this big outline of her head. I wasn't going realistic there. I wanted that big outline, and then you have the snake tendrils. This looks like almost a hat or the edge of a clam or some shellfish, and there's another eye here. You got each one has a weird eye. I'm not sure exactly what it's about, mostly the overall feel. We zoom in, it's very rough. Here's the next one. It's in the same style, but it didn't come out anything like the previous one. Here you have this weird, I don't know, this thing reminds me of a parking meter, this shape, with an eye looking out of it. And this seems like a mouth. This is like a speaker. There's these two holes in it. I don't know what this is over here. And this woman who looks like a nun carrying a sword. I like her mouth. It has a vague religious feel. A lot of them, they do. It's partly, I would say, an attempt to capture the kind of awe of religion without the religion. You'll see more what I'm talking about coming up. Let's see what it looks like in actual pixels. If you zoom in all the way, it looks like this. So if it was printed out large and you got up close, it's just this rough texture. Like her head, it's very loose, just a suggestion. This one is the pool. I've gone back to the painting style and color, but I think I started this one a different way. It's come out entirely different. This one's a little more tight with the painting. Looks good, even zoomed up quite a lot. That's zoomed in all the way. So for 3 days, this one's a pretty tightly rendered one. You have this pool. I see this as a pool. Like, here's this one-eyed figure, female figure, obviously, and its wings wrap around and inside is a pool. And this person, I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman, like a king or queen. It's got a crown. Depends how you feel. You can look at the body. Is coming by and perhaps just saw its reflection in the pool, but now it's looking away. The mouth is kind of funny. The nose is funny. There's no attempt here at realism, just trying to get a general mood. Here we have the sculptor with his crazy hair. This one, I went back. I didn't want to do the painting style anymore, so I wanted to see what I could do with just drawing in color. So this guy is a sculptor. He's looking at his sculpture, which is quite animated. They seem freaked out by each other. And some of my favorite things about this were the lighting, some dramatic light, and the light coming in through like cracks in wood. And you can see in the background a little landscape, like through an open window. I'm not sure what's going on between them. This is back to that rough black and white drawing style. And this one, I deliberately tried to leave it ambiguous. So none of the forms are clearly delineated. They suggest things, but they aren't, especially if you get close, there's not much there. If you zoom out, there seems to be some sort of figure here walking away or something, but if you zoom in far enough, there's nothing. There seems to be a head here. I do see things in it, but I didn't want to make them too defined. Like there's a head here, here's an eye, a nose, a mouth. There could be another head here. Another kissing one, I guess, is possible. But there's a definite like kind of eye here. Here's an eyelid and a nose, a bit of a cheek. So negative and positive space. This big circle here. There's a crazy little guy here. I don't know what this is. So there's a lot of different textures I managed to create. I don't even know how he did it anymore. Little ropey textures. This form, I'm sure everyone's going to see a cruciform. I tried to change it. It's not really clearly a cruciform, but you know, it definitely reads like one. And this has almost a rocky texture to it. This is the cave. This was one of the simpler ones in terms of form. There's only one or two real forms there. Some people look at it and don't really see anything, but I think there's some obvious forms in there. I think I might not tell you what they are. I think you can look and see them. I'll leave it to your imagination to find them. Let's zoom in on this one a bit. I actually quite like this. It's very, it's simple but suggestive. This one's Death Walks Beside You. You have an obvious sort of, this dude here, just can't get away from that looking like the legs of Christ on the cross or something. But there's another leg here that's much more like some creature, and as if they're walking together, and this one is a little behind and more of a monster. Strange stuff going on here. You got the obvious skull over here, some sort of thing like a horseshoe, railroad tracks, weird rocks. This almost looks like an open casket. You zoom in, nothing's really articulated. Maybe a few highlights I went ahead and drew in. It's just what I saw. I chose, some of these you can have fun finding my signature. Can you find it? Yeah, it's over here. This is Missiles of Mercy. This one's almost abstract. It has some really strong angular elements. I like this fin here. This thing looks like a missile. And it has a snake coiled in it. But the snake has no head, it's just got two tails, so maybe it's a bit of a worm, but it looks, the stripes and reflections make it seem like a snake. And then you have this similar striped form here, which comes up the bottom. It seems like I see this as a human figure on the left. I mean, you can see whatever you want with a kind of a helmet. Here's its head, some sort of top of its head, and this is its body. It looks kind of wooden, so they're intersecting, and really it's about the overall feel and composition. And you've got this thing like an eye or something, or a protrusion, something flying towards this figure. Yeah, when you zoom in, you can see how rough it is. That's the thing where I want the economy of means. I want to be able to suggest something, have a whole composition without ever fretting over details. And when I work at it, it can be done at any point. There's nothing needs to be fully realized. So if it's rough, that's okay. It just needs to be cohesive. So that takes out the boredom. I'm inventing, I'm seeing and evolving something, and then at some point I just feel it's done. Number 25, Encephalopedia, has a cephalopod in it, which is just a fancy way of saying an octopus or squid. You can see an eye over here, and like the cone-shaped body if you want. There's all the tentacles around what I see as a figure here. I kept it kind of vague, but I think it's obvious, at least it's obvious to me, that the octopus has captured a figure and part of it is submerged. But maybe my favorite thing about this is this background. It's almost like you're at the edge of the earth. Here's the water at the edge, as if there was a cover, almost like a pie crust or something. Some thin cover of rock that has chipped and eroded away, and outside is some space. It's the other side, some backdoor reality, and just at the end there's these creatures and this person's been caught. So this one, I was trying to do that same black and white technique, but do it in color. It's a lot harder to do it in color, but I think it's fairly successful. You zoom in, you just see those loose strokes. Some of this is in different layers. And that is number 25. Number 26 is on the way, and it's nothing like number 1 through 25. It's a bit different. So check back in again. Thanks for watching the video, and if you'd like to see another 25, 50, or 75 of these, I have my goal set on 100, because I would have no idea what that would look like, how it will evolve. If you'd like to support me, you can do so on Patreon. I'll have the link under the YouTube description. You can contribute $1 a month and cap it at that. And that would be quite helpful. I'm not making any money off this yet, and I don't have really any money coming in, so I'm kind of the starving artist, living as cheaply as possible and making work using only my imagination and my own skill on the computer. Here you see the results. Thanks for watching.